Karen had to go to the hospital the other day. As soon as she entered the building, she felt there was something wrong about that place. Walking along the corridor, she saw 2 nurses. Which nurse is fake? The one on the right. Look, her shoes are dirty and she barely knows how to hold a syringe. Stay away from her, Karen. Adam is a successful IT specialist who works 24/7 from home. He rarely goes anywhere, but a week ago, he decided to go on vacation. He packed his bags and left. A week later, when he came back, he instantly noticed there was someone in his apartment while he was away. Since he lives alone, he immediately called the police. Why? Before he left, there was a bin full of papers and candy wrappers. When he came back, the bin was empty. Adele just loves traveling and does it any time she can. She took some days off and headed to the airport to go to a new destination. That morning, there were only 4 flights. Paris, departing at 7 a.m., New York, departing at 7:30 a.m., Los Angeles, departing at 8:05 a.m., and Sydney, departing at 8:10 a.m. Where's Adele flying? To Sydney. Look at her suitcase. It has several stickers on it. A sticker with the Statue of Liberty means she's already been to New York. The one with the Eiffel Tower means she's traveled to Paris. And look at the I Love LA sticker. Hey, have a good time in Australia, Adele. Ryan owns a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It's been several months since he started searching for a new head of one of the departments, but he still hasn't found one. Looking through the new CVs his secretary left on his desk, he realized one candidate lied about their experience. Who was it? There are 3 CVs. Each of them has the candidate's age, work experience, and education. But how can someone born in 2000 have a PhD in economics? When Jessica came home from work, she noticed that someone stole an expensive painting from her bedroom, hanging right above the bed. She immediately called the police and explained what happened. She said she didn't touch anything in that room, and when she noticed the painting had been gone, she called them to investigate. The police arrested her on the spot. Why did they arrest her? Jessica said she hadn't touched anything, but the bed is perfectly made. If there had been a robbery, the bed would have been a mess. It wasn't possible to get the painting without stepping on it. A wicked troll caught Marge and locked her up in one of the rooms in his castle. He said it was impossible to get out of that room even though there were 3 exit doors. All of them were equipped with motion sensors. If Marge opens the first door, it'll start a mechanism that fills the room with toxic gas. If Marge opens the second door, it'll start another mechanism. A motion sensor will see the movement and a super heavy weight will fall down immediately. Behind the third door, there's a swarm of venomous mosquitoes no one can get through. Despite it all, Marge managed to escape. How did she do it? She tricked the motion sensor behind the second door into thinking it was her moving there. But in fact, she just threw her shoe in that room first, the heavy weight fell down, and Marge ran away without a shoe. You have 5 pencils. Green, blue, and orange ones are short. Red and yellow pencils are long. You need to arrange them in a special order. Long pencils are next to each other. The green pencil is between the orange and the red pencil. The pencils on the edges are of different sizes. The 4th pencil is short. The correct order is yellow, red, green, orange, blue. You work in a supermarket and need to arrange 3 boxes from lightest to heaviest. You know that the yellow box is heavier than the black one. 2 black boxes weigh the same as the yellow and pink boxes combined. Okay, this was pretty simple. First goes the pink box, the lightest one. Then you need to put the black box, and then the yellow one, the heaviest. Hey, you got to do weird things at work. Detective Hugh followed a criminal. Unfortunately, he didn't know what he looked like because the criminal would always wear a hood and large sunglasses. The detective knew exactly that he was hiding in one of the 3 houses in Maple Street. When Hugh came up to the first house and knocked on the door, a man opened the door and said he lived alone. He also said it had been several days since he last left home. He claimed he didn't know anything about that criminal. The detective inspected the house and instantly realized the man was lying. How did he understand it? There's an umbrella hidden behind the sofa. The umbrella is wet and there is a small puddle on the floor. This man is either the criminal or he's trying to hide one. Mike was driving back home in Chicago in winter when a blizzard started. The weather was awful, and Mike thought it would be safer to spend a night in a hotel and wait until it stopped snowing. The hotel was a bit iffy, but since it was for one night only, Mike thought it was okay. The next morning when he checked out and came up to his car, he noticed something was wrong and called the police. What was the problem? The car is covered with snow. It's okay since it's been snowing all night long, but the windshield is clean, which means someone must have taken his car. Simon grabbed a really nice muffin in the cafe and put it on his office desk. He wanted to save it for later and eat it at the coffee break. But when he came back from a meeting, he saw someone had eaten his muffin. There are only 3 people who could do that, and only one is telling the truth. Jack says it was Ashton. Ashton says he didn't eat anything. Tyler says he didn't eat anything either. Who ate the muffin? It was Tyler. Only one person is telling the truth, and it's Ashton. If Jack or Tyler told the truth, then it would be 2 people who were telling the truth. But Simon knew only one person wasn't lying. A vampire recently moved to a big city where nobody knew him to start a brand new life. Still, he just couldn't help it and started biting locals every single night. People got scared and asked Detective Ryan to help them out. A couple of days later, he already had 3 suspects. All of them recently moved to that city. Ryan visited all of the suspects, and he was sure he found the notorious vampire. Who is the vampire? Well, the man on the left has loads of garlic in the kitchen, and vampires can't stand it. The second suspect has lots of silver cutlery in the kitchen, and he doesn't mind eating with a silver fork. No vampire can do that. The guy in a hoodie is the vampire. Hey, looks like someone has to move again. A man went to a houseware store to grab something for his new apartment. If he grabs one good, it costs $1. If it's 13, it costs him $2. If it's 138, he'll pay $3. What did he buy? The goods he needed were the numbers for his apartment doors. He lives in apartment 138, so he bought 3 numbers for $1 each. A scientist created a robot, Jason, who looked exactly like a human. One day, Jason ran away from the scientist's house because he wanted to start a life on his own. Hey, maybe he could be roommates with that vampire. The police started looking for him immediately, but the scientist had no photo of Jason. They soon realized Jason was hiding in the swimming pool and went there to investigate. There were 4 men in the swimming pool claiming they had spent almost an hour swimming, and the police asked them to do one thing to prove they're not robots. This way, they found Jason in no time. What did they ask them to do? They asked them to show their hands. Those who had wrinkly fingers after swimming were real people. The one with smooth hands is a robot. Emily told her boss someone had stolen the report she prepared for the meeting. She also added that she had noticed someone come in wearing a hoodie to hide their face, a black tracksuit, and gloves. This person also had a ring with a large gem. The boss didn't believe her. Why? She said the person was wearing gloves. Then how did she see that ring then? Emily must have simply stained that report with coffee she drinks all the time. So your friend asks you for a favor and gives you $5 asking to buy something to eat, something to drink, something to feed his cow with, and something to plant in his garden. At the same time, you're allowed to buy just one thing. What are you going to buy? You can go and buy a watermelon. You can eat it, you can drink it, you can feed the cow with the rinds, and as for the watermelon seeds, you can easily plant them in the garden. An egg has to fall 100 feet, but you can't let it break. You can't slow down its fall or cushion its landing. How can you do it? Drop the egg from a height greater than 100 feet, and it won't break for the first 100 feet. Cracks me up. Let's imagine you don't know what an elephant looks like. One day, you're going on a safari to watch animals with your friends. One of them points at a rhino and tells you it's an elephant. The other shows you a hippo and claims that it's an elephant. Who will you believe and why? The task was to imagine that you didn't know what an elephant looked like, not that you didn't know what a hippo and a rhino are. It means you won't believe either of your friends. It's fitness day at school, and all the children ran the same distance. Each kid was ranked according to his or her own unique result. Billy turned out to be both the 50th fastest and the 50th slowest runner. How many kids are there at Billy's school? Even though 100 sounds like a clear-cut answer, it's actually 99. Billy is the 50th in the sequence from 1 to 50 of the fastest runners. If he's the 50th slowest, there has to be 99 runners ranked from 50 to 99. Mrs. Smith went to the police claiming that her vintage necklace was missing. The woman was upset. When the police arrived, they saw no signs of a break-in. No messed up locks, no misplaced doors. Only one window was broken. There was a total mess inside the house and dirty footprints all over the floor. Surprisingly, the next day, Mrs. Smith was arrested for fraud. Why? The police were sure that Mrs. Smith lied to them because the window was broken from the inside. If it had been broken from the outside, little pieces of glass would have been on the room's floor. You've been captured and kept in jail for several months. One day, you manage to open your cell and get out into the hall. There are 3 exits. A huge, vicious-looking man guards one of them. The second has angry dogs. And in front of the third exit, there's a timer ticking down to an explosion in 5 minutes. Which exit will you choose? Wait until the explosion is over and get out through the third exit. Bill and Joe have had an argument about human body capabilities and made a deal. Bill would go to Antarctica and Joe would travel to the Sahara Desert, where they'll both try to survive for 3 days without any shelter and clothes, but with plenty of food and water. Who has the better chances of survival? It's Joe. In Antarctica, the temperatures are freezing all the time, and without any cover, Bill would become an icicle in less than a day. In the Sahara, on the other hand, the extreme heat might cause blisters and even heat stroke, but only in the day. It's rather cool there at night, and water will help Joe fight any dehydration. James escaped from prison and ran for the countryside. Suddenly, on a small, deserted road, he saw a police car heading right at him. James ran toward the car for some time, then turned and rushed into the woods. Why did he run toward the car first? James was in the middle of a bridge when he saw the car. He had to run toward the vehicle to get off the bridge. Newlyweds left for their honeymoon and asked their neighbor to look after their house. When they returned, the woman found out that she'd lost all her expensive jewelry because of a power outage. The woman had hidden her jewelry in a supposedly safe place. The house wasn't robbed. The neighbor was an honest person. The jewelry got lost on accident. What happened? The wife hid her jewelry in the freezer in a bag with frozen food. After the power failure, all the food spoiled. The kind-hearted neighbor decided to help and threw away all the bad food, together with the jewelry. On a sunny, windless day, a ship was in the harbor. There were many people on the shore looking at the vessel. Suddenly, the ship started to sink fast. There was nothing wrong with it, there was no storm, and the skies were blue. And yet, the ship went down in front of the spectators. What happened? Nothing unexpected. The submarine's captain just ordered the crew to dive. You're playing ping pong when your last ball falls into a 1-foot-deep narrow metal pipe embedded in the concrete floor. How can you get the ball out of the pipe if all you have is your paddle, a bottle of water, and your shoelaces? Pour the water from your bottle into the hole, and the ball will rise to the surface. Oh, and use your shoelaces to keep your shoes on. It took 7 years to build the world's tallest skyscraper. Every year, the builders managed to double its height. How many years did it take the skyscraper to reach half its maximum height? Six years. If the constructors doubled the building's height every year, the skyscraper had to be half its final height a year before it was completed. There's a low railroad bridge in your town with a car tunnel under it. One day, you see a large truck sitting right in front of the tunnel and a confused driver walking around. You come up to him and ask what happened. It turned out that the truck is just a couple of inches taller than the allowed height. So if he drives inside, the truck will get stuck. Unfortunately, that's the only way to the driver's destination. How can he get through the tunnel? He has to let the air out of the tires. It'll make the truck lower. Lucy could only use a public telephone to make calls. One day, the phone broke. She informed the phone company, but they did nothing. The next day, she came there again and said something. The day after that, the phone was fixed. What did Lucy say? She said that people were making calls without paying. A family lived in a round hut. There were 5 people, a mother, a father, and their 3 sons. When the father came home one day, he discovered that his computer was broken. The mother was away. Mark, the oldest kid, said he was doing his homework. Jack, the middle kid, swore he was drawing. And Tom, the youngest, told father that mom had punished him and so he was standing in a corner. Who broke the computer? It was Tom, of course. A round house doesn't have any corners. There is a 1-mile-long bridge, which can only hold 5,000 pounds at one time. That's exactly the weight of the truck that's crossing it. The truck reaches the middle of the bridge and stops. Suddenly, a bird lands on the truck. Is the bridge going to collapse? The bridge isn't going to break down because the truck has already used some gas to get to the middle and therefore weighs less than 5,000 pounds. You agreed to take part in a reality show, but it turned out to be a trap from a crazed lunatic. He tells you to dive into one of 4 tanks. The first one is swarming with venomous snakes. The second is filled with corrosive acid. Electric eels are swimming in the third one. And the 4th tank is filled with bacteria-infested water. In which tank will you have more chances of survival? Choose the tank with the bacteria. First of all, not all bacteria are harmful, and secondly, not all of them are contagious. Good luck with that. Mark got himself a new book to read. The plot was so exciting that he couldn't stop and kept reading the story until late at night. He didn't turn on the lights when it was pitch dark and there was no one to do it for him. But he still managed to read the book till the end that night. How is that possible? Mark was blind and was reading a book written in Braille. Or he could have just had an e-book. Hey, why not?